G'day everyone, welcome back to Nat's Knackers Yard. I won't be Nat, this will not be my Knackers Yard. This will be a very familiar commute, kinda, for those that have watched for a while. I'm in central London again. I've had to nip back to my old office. I'm now nipping to my new office, which again is my old idea. And back to where I've worked before, whatever. I got to play in London again, back there London. And I'd forgotten a few things, and it's and I thought it's quite some interesting observations. Now, anybody that's ever done it in any major city should realise that inner city riding is an experience, and dare I say it, a skill. By a skill, I'm not blowing smoke up my own arse. It's just the point that it is a different experience than elsewhere. Oh, thanks, dude. You're a gentleman and a scholar. What a good lad. It's not that I'm rusty, it's bits that I'm struggling to turn it off. Now, I've mentioned it in some, I don't know if I actually uploaded them though, but in some of my suburbs commutes, my more recent commutes, my recent commuting route, is that what I've described as it's difficult to turn idiot mode off, as in relearning to ride in the burbs in, you know, rush hour and commuting traffic, is a different style than when you're doing it in central London. And it's not entirely that it's a different style, it's a different impetus, it's a different, you've got to ride, we don't have to ride aggressively in central London, but if you want to actually get anywhere in any half decent time, you need to be a bit more aggressive. Now that's not to say that you're shouting and swearing at everybody, although it'll happen. It's not to say that you're wheeling through zebra crossings, which doesn't happen, but there's times when you feel like you should. But it is just overall a different experience, and I found it really quite hard to turn that off. Oh, look at these little buggy thingies. Cool. I want one. Carts of London. Is that a new hire car thingy? That's cool for traffic, but I'm slightly concerned as to how vulnerable I might feel in that. You feel vulnerable on a motorbike, but you've got more than enough oomph to get you out the poo when you find yourself in it. Really? How much are they?
£100 for the hour.
That's not bad. What's it like to drive?
Sorry?
What's it like to drive?
So fine. It's a go-kart.
Sorry, mate. Carry on. Like it. It's a go-kart for £100 an hour in central London.
Easy way to get around London.
Well, but this is better.
But electric.
Yeah? Yeah, and you fit through things cars don't. That's cool, I've not seen them before.
Are you going straight or right?
Straight over.
Okay, I'll let you go first.
Thanks, man. I'll race you.
Oh, we went for a competition.
Got stereo noise.
Very nice. You are very slow. You're just straight over, yeah?
And he's going to fit through that little gap behind me whilst this guy tries to walk in front of me. Yep, he snuck through. That's quite cool. There you go, an interview. Before I was so fascinatingly interrupted, I was going to say rudely, but that wasn't rude at all. What a lovely chap. Yeah, the riding styles. I had Unfortunately, I had a flat battery this morning, which was really bad prep, and I can make no excuses for that. Oh, come on. Thanks, man. Yeah, that's just bad prep, and it was all down to being on t'other bike, on Klaus, the big tourer, yesterday. I think, I'm not sure when upload. It's this trouble when I start building up a backlog. I'm not sure when I'm going to put those out, but I'll put the Klaus one out before you would have seen the Klaus one before this one. Anyway, like an idiot, I forgot to recharge my helmet camera, which is a shame because it was an eventful commute this morning, and I hold myself completely to blame because I was trying to ride like I always did do on the way into work. And I got myself in one or two, not dangerous, but you know, slightly sticky positions where I think I'm just out of practice. Not that I've ever been that much of a rush to get into any workplace that I'm doing at 120 mile an hour, but it was a bit touch and go in a couple of occasions where it really shouldn't have been, and if I was just thinking that little bit further ahead, I wouldn't have put myself in the position that I found myself in. Now, going back in time, I initially started uploading helmet cam footage years ago on a channel called Divvy Dave, which still exists. I haven't uploaded for a number of years. It was when I had my Diversion 900 known as Dave, and that was my channel. And I started uploading because I was helmet camming, and it was like near misses and things like that. And I got, well, you know, all the moto sites asking if they can use my clip and all that sort of thing. And it was actually what is now my normal commute, my Burbs commute. But there was fairly frequent, you know, not near misses is putting it wrong, you know, uploads of people doing silly things or nearly catching me, which I now, with 100% hindsight and a lot more experience, put down to, well, I was in that position because I was in that position. You know, I'd got myself in that position. So I'm not saying I was riding dangerously, but with more experience, good God, but with more experience, I'd learned how not to put myself in that position. That's not to say that my riding now is immaculate, but I'm quite experienced through central London at getting less mishaps than I did before, which I think is a fair statement to make. I'm in less vulnerable positions because I put myself in less vulnerable positions. It's not faultless. I still interpret the rules as much as everybody else does in central London, particularly on bike lanes, but I'm a lot better than I was. This morning was a little bit hazy, to say the least. Now I've just, you know, I only had a brief appointment in my old workplace, and I'm now just heading across to my new workplace, which is the one that I used to work in when I had Divvy Dave as a channel, if you follow my drift. But there's bits that I thought I'd pass on in terms of kind of riding in central London. That's the first one. You need to be incredibly defensive because bikes come out of everywhere, and more often than not line bikes, like that one. If you don't know what a line bike is, you know, Boris bikes, as they're otherwise known, Santander do them as well. You know, they are generally the wild cards of the cycling fraternity. I'll get onto pedestrians in a minute. They're the wild cards of the cycling fraternity because they've hired it for a period of time. Because they've hired it for a period of time, they, like everybody else, are tight, and they will try and do it as quickly as possible so they can get off hire as quick as possible, so it doesn't cost them very much. Which means that if there's a light, they'll cross it irrespective of what colour it is, etc, etc, etc. Then have other stratas of bicyclists, i.e. those that are on their own bike, whether they be sit-up and beg bikes, which I said before and I'll say again, I have something about. I don't think there's much more wholesomely attractive in the world than a girl on a sit-up and beg bike just cruising around London. There's something, it's not a sexy thing, it is I just think it's an attractive thing. It looks good. And it warms me cockles, not just me cockles, if you follow my drift. Sit up and beg bikes, there you go, more line bikes. all the way to mammals or middle-aged men in lycra, and the odd fixie, although you don't see those quite so often, the fixed gear ones where your pedal is linked to your cog, so your brake is by not pedalling or by holding your legs steady. I know loads of people say, oh, why would you choose to only have one gear, and why would you choose not to have any brakes? I used to ride one a good few years ago when I was working in Bristol at the time, and it was great fun. It was really it was a bit of a community about it, and like fixie calves at the time, and I kind of got into it, went out on some group rides. It's good fun. Adds a bit of a workout factor to a bike as well, but it's for those that are old enough to remember when pedal back brakes were a thing on BMXs. It's very much like that. I kind of relived my youth through that way. So yeah, and all bikes behave differently, but you just need to preempt them more when you're on a central London commute than when you're on a burbs commute. It's less of a factor in a burbs commute. Oh, there we go, mammal. Just like I ordered one. I delivered one. Pedestrians, yeah, the utter wild cards in central London was less of an issue for me this morning, to be brutally honest, because I was early and there weren't that many of them about, and you don't tend to interact with pedestrians until you get into central London. On the whole, it's good to see these traffic lights down here have finally gone as well. So yeah, pedestrians are a massive wildcard that you don't have to deal with in most burbs commute, or not nowhere near to that degree, which is very, very different. The biggest bit though is, oh, that's nice, is cars and other vehicles. Well, okay, other vehicles. Let's split that into 2 wheels / 3 and 4 wheels. On a burbs commute, mopeds, and I think by mopeds I'm not necessarily talking other commuters. I'm more on, Deliveroos, Just Eat, etc. Talking delivery bikes, working bikes, if you like. When you're in central London, they are every part of a menace as much as anything else, because you need to be especially vigilant, because they will sneak through a smaller gap at pace than a car will or a taxi will, whereas in a burbs commute they're generally doing the same as you. So the biggest hazard that a Just Eat or an Uber or a Deliveroo will be doing is in a situation like this, and if you've got a row of traffic both ways, they will also be trying to go down the middle of the road to scoot round everybody, so they're less of an issue. It's the bigger four-wheeled other vehicles, cars, vans, etc., and this morning was interesting in terms of, it was more private drivers, so it wasn't working vans, white vans. They're generally pretty easy to predict. If there's a gap, they'll take it. It's very much, I was fortunate enough to learn to drive a car in Germany, and I got very, very used to the fact, and the advice from the instructor at the time was, if there's a gap, a German will take it. It was a German instructor, albeit I ended up through some weird mechanism through a friend getting having a British test with with an army unit down the road, actually, which was really handy, saved me transferring it. But anyway, that's an aside. So I got a civilian driving license through German civilians, and somehow it ended up being tested by a British instructor, and therefore a British license. Anyway, the whole piece was if there's a gap, they'll take it, and that's very much in central London. When you're in the burbs, they'll do exactly the same, but they'll do it at greater speed. Really? Oh, come on, you drive like old people, fuck. Changed your mind? Right, if you forgive me if I give you a hell of a lot of room, because you have no idea what you're doing. Good God. Yeah, so... Oh, that's cool. I like the crane in zebra colours. Where's the zebras? They're this side. Oh, I've missed them. Damn it. Yeah, so It's trying to readjust. So this morning I had lots of fun, but did nearly die a few times. I had two, I wouldn't really call them near misses, but two 50 pence, 10 pence, 50 pence moments. That references to the puckering of your arsehole, in case you haven't heard that one before. Yeah, it's interesting. But I'll drop you back in on the bimble. What the fuck? Somebody's really pushed the wild card today, haven't they? I'll drop you back if anything weirdy happens.